The stars were quiet. Space was cold and dark, just like always. But Captain Mira Gray knew this mission was different. She sat in the command chair of the ESV Hopeland, a large rescue ship sent by Earth. Her team wasn't carrying weapons. They carried food, medicine, and tools. They were on a peace mission. In front of them was the broken ship of the Zilari, an alien race known for science and peace. Their ship had sent out a distress call 3 days ago. The message was short. Life support failing. Need help. Please. Earth responded fast. The Hopewind was the closest vessel. Mira had been proud to accept the mission. Saving lives, that was what humans stood for now. That was what Earth wanted the galaxy to see. The crew worked calmly. Dr. Lena checked supplies. Engineers walked down to the cargo bay. The pilot, Ramos, checked their approach speed. 10 minutes to docking, Ramos said. Mira nodded. Keep it steady. We don't want to scare them. They might be injured or confused. The Zilari ship floated in space like a wounded animal. Lights were dim. Power was weak. There were no defense systems online. This was not a trap. It looked like a real emergency. Captain, came a soft voice. It was Jay, the young communications officer. I'm not getting any replies. Their ship is still silent. That's okay, Mira said. They might not have power. Or maybe they're unconscious. We'll be there soon. The crew continued their work. No one was worried. After all, who would fire on a rescue ship? Earth had made it clear. Its rescue ships were protected by peace laws agreed upon by the Galactic Council. Attacking one was like attacking a hospital. But then, it happened. A sound. Not loud, not sharp, just strange. Like a buzz mixed with static. It came through the ship speakers without warning. Ramos turned. What was that? Mira looked at Jay. Was that from the Zilari ship? Jay shook his head. No, it's not from them. It's coming from somewhere else. It's not a distress signal. I think it's... He didn't get to finish. The Hopeland shook. Not a little. A full hit. Boom. Red lights flashed. The crew fell from their chairs. Sirens screamed through the hallway. We're under attack, Ramos shouted. From who? Mira yelled back. No idea. I see a burst of energy. Plasma fire. Someone fired from behind the Zilari ship. Shields up, evasive action. Mira ordered. But it was too late. Another blast hit them. This time, near the engine. The whole ship groaned. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. Mira crawled to her seat. Send a distress call. Earth needs to know now. Jay's fingers flew over the panel. Sending, code red. Coordinates included. The screen showed 2 small ships, fast and dark. No known markings. They didn't answer hails. They just kept firing. This doesn't make sense, Ramos said. We're a rescue ship. They're not supposed to do this. They know exactly what we are, Mira whispered. That's the scary part. A third hit slammed into the side. A section of the cargo bay exploded. Fire spread. 2 crew members were lost instantly. Mira watched it happen, frozen for 1 second. Then she stood. Get everyone to escape zones. Medical team, prepare for injured. We're not dying out here. Even in panic, her voice was firm. Another officer, Kellen, rushed in. Captain, emergency thrusters are failing. We can't move fast. Can we fight back? Mira asked. Kellen looked down. We don't have weapons, just repair drones. The enemy ships moved closer. Their weapons charged again. Jay, Mira said quietly, send one more message to Earth. Use the emergency signal. Jay hesitated. You mean the black signal? Yes, Mira said. Her voice was low now, serious. They'd fired on a rescue ship. Earth needs to know, now. Jay sent the signal. A red screen blinked twice, then turned black. Earth had received the code. Mira looked out at the stars. They think we won't respond. They think we'll just die out here. She watched as the enemy ships circled like sharks. But they don't understand what they just did. The fire continued. More systems failed. But the message was already on its way. Earth would know. And Earth would remember. Part 1 ends. The message reached Earth in less than 4 minutes. The moment the black signal was received, everything stopped inside the Earth Defense Center. People looked at the blinking screen. No one moved. No one spoke. Admiral James Rhodes, head of Earth's Space Defense Fleet, stood silently. His eyes were fixed on the red letters. Emergency Protocol Black. Rescue ship under fire, hostile confirmed. It had only been used twice in Earth's history. Both times, the response had changed the galaxy. Behind him, my young officer whispered, "Sir, it's the Hopewind." Admiral Rhodes clenched his jaw. "How many crew?" 37. Rescue personnel only. No weapons. The room stayed quiet. People waited for the Admiral to speak. Rhodes finally turned. His voice was calm, but cold. "They fired on medics. They'd fired on doctors." "Shall I alert the Council, sir?" "No, alert Earth." Within minutes, massive screens lit up across Earth's military network. The President was informed. The strategic fleet was moved to red status. The first response force, Earth's fastest warships, was silently activated. On the news, nothing changed. No headlines, no panic. Earth stayed silent to the outside world. But inside the defense stations, inside the secret command rooms, Earth was burning with quiet rage. In the Deep Space Command Center, General Elara Vu watched as her ships were loaded. Her fleet had once fought in the Orion border conflict. She had seen war up close. But this was different. These were rescue workers, she said to her second in command. And someone murdered them. "We don't know who yet," he replied carefully. "We will," she said. "And when we do, I want the full fleet ready to answer." All over the planet, Earth's war machine began to move. Quiet, sharp, efficient. Ships were armed. Pilots were called in from leave. Satellites shifted to new orbits. Earth didn't make noise, but it didn't wait either. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, news of the black signal reached a few high-level ambassadors. Some called emergency meetings. Others remained quiet. The Xarn Syndicate representative, Lord Vesk, narrowed his eyes when he saw the transmission log. "They'll come looking," he said to his aide. "We must remove the evidence quickly." "But sir, if they trace it back to us." "They won't. The attack ship was clean. No markings. And the Zalari ship was just bait." The aide looked nervous. "What if Earth finds out the truth?" Lord Vesk laughed. "Then we'll just say it was pirates, and pretend to help them find the real attackers, like always." But this time, things were not like always, because Earth wasn't just angry. It was focused. In a dark control room under Earth's surface, Rhodes stood before a large screen showing the Hopewind's final moments. The fire, the screaming, the last signal from Captain Mira. "She never stopped trying to save lives," he whispered. An old general beside him, Marshal Coratan, shook her head. "They want to see if we'll back down, if we'll do nothing." Rhodes looked over. "Then they've already lost." He gave the order. "Prepare Recon Fleet Theta. Full stealth mode. Send them to the Zalari system. I want eyes everywhere." "Yes, sir." "And tell communications to send one message to the Galactic Council. Just one sentence." The officer typed as Rhodes spoke. "To those who fired, we are coming." In space, near Jupiter's orbit, the giant hangars of Earth's defense fleet opened. Sleek, black ships rose like shadows from the depths. Their engines were silent. Their weapons were hidden, but deadly. Each ship carried AI support, stealth tech, and enough firepower to erase a city. And they were not going to negotiate. Back on Earth, President Ellen Caro sat in her private office. She watched the footage of the Hopewind on loop. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. Then her aide entered. Ma'am, the fleet is moving. Quietly, just as you requested. Good, she said. And the message to the council? Let them panic, she replied. Let them guess who we're angry at. The aide looked worried. If the attackers are smart, they'll hide. The president looked him in the eyes. Let them hide. We'll still find them. And when we do, she stood and looked out at the stars. We won't ask questions. We'll make an example. In the cold of space, the rescue ship Hopewind drifted alone. Its systems were dying. Fires burned inside. But one small pod had escaped. Floating far behind the ship, a damaged escape capsule blinked weakly. Inside, bloodied and barely breathing, Captain Mira Gray opened her eyes. She saw stars. She was still alive. And Earth was already on its way. The news spread quickly, faster than any of the galaxy's leaders had expected. The message sent by Earth, "We are coming." It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. Within hours, ambassadors and council members gathered in the Galactic Council Hall, an enormous structure floating in the middle of space. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in silence, waiting for the meeting to begin. Some faces were calm, while others were tense. The council's influence was vast, but the Earth's sudden response was something none of them had seen before. Lord Vesk, the representative from the Xarn Syndicate, sat back in his chair, watching as the Earth message replayed on a giant screen. His eyes narrowed. He had been part of the galaxy's darker deals for years, but Earth had always seemed different. Now it seemed like something had shifted. What do we do? One of the Xarn officials asked nervously. Earth has never reacted this way. We wait, Vesk replied, his voice cold, and we prepare. If Earth wants a fight, they will get one. On the opposite side of the hall, the Zalari representative, Ambassador Sarah, stood up. She was calm, but there was an edge to her voice. We must act quickly. Earth's fleets are already moving. If we don't do something, they will retaliate for their own ship, their own people. Retaliate? You're overreacting, Lord Vesk snapped. We just need to keep the truth hidden. Earth doesn't even know who attacked them. That may be true, Sarah said, her voice low, but they are not fools. They'll figure it out soon. And when they do, the galaxy will be at war. At the back of the room, a single voice interrupted the discussion. We need a response. The room fell silent as the speaker stepped forward. It was Call, the ambassador from the Horth Confederation. His species was known for being ancient and wise, but today his face was filled with worry. A response? Vesk said, raising an eyebrow. To what? Earth's threats? Yes, Call replied, his voice firm. Earth is not an enemy we can ignore. Their fleets may be small for now, but they have the power to tear through us if they want to. If we do not act together, we risk losing everything. Lord Vesk scoffed. They won't strike first. They never do. Call shook his head. This is not the Earth of the past. The message they've sent is clear. They will find who did this, and when they do, they will strike. It will be swift, and it will be decisive. Sarah stood, her eyes flashing with a mix of concern and resolve. Then we must act now, she said. We cannot let them corner us. We must move first. If Earth wants war, let them come. But we must ensure we are prepared. The council chamber hummed with tension. Some representatives agreed with Sarah, while others feared the power Earth now commanded. Back in Earth's command center, Admiral Rhodes stood in front of a large map of the galaxy. His eyes were fixed on the positions of Earth's fleets. The fleets were silent, moving in the dark. Report, Rhodes barked at his officers. They're ready, sir, Kellen, the lead strategist, replied. All ships are in position. Stealth systems are online. They won't see us coming. Rhodes nodded slowly. Good. Now we wait. The silence in the room was broken only by the faint sound of footsteps and the clicking of keyboards. The strategy was simple: find the attackers. No matter where they were, Earth would not stop until they were found. The enemy was already moving, but they didn't know Earth had already activated its fleet. Across the galaxy, the first whispers of Earth's new strength reached the ears of many worlds. Traders, smugglers, and ambassadors from neutral systems passed on rumors. The message Earth had sent was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Some called it a mistake. Others saw it as a warning. The Zalari Trade Alliance met in secret, deciding whether to back Earth. Despite their peaceful nature, they recognized the power Earth could bring to the table. "I've seen their military capabilities," one of their leaders said. "We cannot risk injuring them." Meanwhile, in the distant Sharian sector, a fleet of battle-worn ships belonging to the pirate clans had picked up the news as well. "We could make a fortune if we strike first," one pirate captain said, laughing. "Earth's ships are slow and underprepared. I bet we can take them out easily." But another pirate captain, older and wiser, scowled. "You think Earth is weak? You think they won't respond? Do you know what happened to the last fleet that thought they could mess with Earth?" His voice dropped, as if remembering something horrible. "The Earth doesn't forgive. Ever." Back on the Hopewind, Captain Mira Gray fought for control. Her escape pod was drifting through the darkness of space. Oxygen was low, and the ship's systems were failing. But she had to survive. She had to stay alive. The message had been sent. Earth had been alerted. Now she needed to tell them everything. It wasn't just the attack on Earth's ship that had to be avenged. It was the message behind it. Mira's eyes glowed with determination. Whoever had attacked them had made one huge mistake. They had underestimated humanity. And now they were going to pay. The cold emptiness of space was the perfect place for Earth's ships to hide. The fleet moved in perfect silence, invisible to any sensors, as they advanced through the dark regions of the galaxy. Every ship was cloaked, its engines masked by advanced stealth technology. Earth had learned the hard way how to make themselves undetectable, and now they were using it to hunt down the enemy who had attacked their rescue convoy. Admiral Rhodes stood at the center of the command room, staring at the large screen in front of him. The positions of every ship, every planet, and every known enemy were displayed in glowing green lights. "We're closing in on the Zalari system," Kellen reported from the communication station. The Hopewind's distress signal was last detected near their borders. Rhodes nodded, his fingers tightening around the edge of his chair. "How long before we reach their system?" "We'll be there in 2 hours, sir," Kellen said, glancing at the time. "But if they've already moved, we may miss them." "Then we can't waste time," Rhodes said, his voice firm. "Tell the fleet to stay on course. Full speed ahead. We're not leaving until we find them." As the fleet advanced, the tension grew. Each crew member could feel the weight of the mission. They weren't just searching for the attackers. They were hunting them down. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about sending a message. In the Zalari system, Ambassador Sarah was having her own problems. Her planet was full of whispers, rumors that Earth was coming for them. She had tried to stay calm, trying to reassure her people that Earth wouldn't find them. But she wasn't so sure anymore. Her ship was ready, and her people were prepared, but the fear was growing. They had never faced a threat like Earth before. Their resources were vast, but they were not built for a fight like this. The message Earth had sent wasn't a typical warning. It was a promise. "We can't let them catch us off guard," Sarah said to her advisors. "Earth will stop at nothing to find us. We have to move quickly." "But the fleet," one of the advisors started. "We don't have time to debate," Sarah cut in. "We need to hide. Now." The Zalari ships began to prepare to leave the system, jumping into warp speed to evade Earth's incoming fleet. They would have to hope that their technology was advanced enough to keep them hidden. If they failed, it would be a war. Back in the vastness of space, Earth's fleet moved closer to the Zalari system, and Rhodes's patience wore thin. The fleet's stealth mode was still active, but the closer they got, the more dangerous it became. If they were spotted, it would be too late. Rhodes's mind raced. Every moment that passed felt like an eternity. His crew was experienced, but this was something different. They had never faced an enemy who dared to attack them without provocation. And now they were hunting that enemy down. "We're within the Zellary system's outer rim," Kellen reported. "We've detected no signs of the Hopewind or any enemy ships." Rhodes's expression hardened. "Increase sensors. Double the scan range. They're hiding somewhere." The fleet scanning technology began to buzz as the ship's powerful sensors probed the area for any sign of movement. Earth wasn't going to let them slip away. "Nothing," Kellen said after a few minutes, his voice laced with frustration. "They've completely disappeared." "They didn't just vanish," Rhodes muttered, his eyes scanning the screen. "They're hiding." Then one of the fleet's junior officers spoke up from the back of the room. "Sir, we're receiving a distress signal. It's weak, coming from a nearby asteroid field." "Put it on screen," Rhodes ordered, his voice sharp. The screen flickered and a grainy image appeared. The transmission was coming from a damaged ship, a small pod, drifting in space. The signal was faint, but unmistakable. It was the Hopewind. In the command room, the silence was broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Rhodes stood motionless, his heart racing. The Hopewind's last signal had been sent from the Zellary system. This was no coincidence. "Helm, change course," Rhodes ordered. "Set a course for the asteroid field. All ships, follow me." The fleet moved quickly. Every ship turned, heading toward the asteroid field where the distress signal had come from. The debris-filled region was dangerous, but it was the perfect place for a ship to hide. As they entered the asteroid field, the sensors began to go wild. The huge rocks interfered with the fleet's scanning systems, making it harder to detect anything. But Rhodes wasn't worried. He knew that with the Hopewind's last known coordinates, they would find it. They had to. Minutes passed like hours. The tension in the room was thick, every officer on edge, eyes glued to their screens, waiting for any sign. Then a faint blip appeared on the scanner. "There!" Kellen shouted. "We've got a signal." The fleet closed in on the source of the distress call. The asteroid field was thick, and the small pod was almost invisible against the backdrop of floating rocks. But as they neared, they saw the Hopewind's damaged escape pod. "Scan for life signs," Rhodes commanded. The crew's scanners picked up a faint pulse. There was one life sign on board. It was a miracle. Someone had survived. Rhodes's fist clenched. "Prepare a recovery team," he said. "We're bringing them home." In the quiet darkness of space, Captain Mira Gray sat in her escape pod, holding on to consciousness by a thread. She had no idea how long she'd been drifting. Hours, days. Her oxygen was almost gone, and the pod systems were nearly dead. But then, through the darkness, she saw something. A light. A signal. A fleet. Earth had found her. She wasn't alone anymore. The Hopewind's escape pod drifted quietly in space as Earth's recovery team prepared to retrieve its lone survivor. Captain Mira Gray had no strength left to speak, her body weak from exhaustion, but her mind was sharp. The moment she'd seen the Earth fleet's ships approach, a wave of relief had washed over her. She had survived. Ready for recovery came the voice of Lieutenant Cooper, one of the recovery team officers, over the comms, preparing the tractor beam to pull the pod in. Mira could barely hear them through the fading static in her headset. She had almost given up hope, but now the sound of Earth's ships, her ships, was like music to her ears. The tractor beam gently locked onto the pod, pulling it toward the nearest recovery ship. As it moved through space, Mira's eyes fluttered open for the briefest moment, just enough to see the familiar colors of Earth's fleet. Minutes later, she was aboard the recovery ship, lying on a medical bed, hooked up to oxygen. The doctors worked quickly, but her strength was draining fast. A soft voice spoke beside her. "Captain Gray, can you hear me?" It was Admiral Rhodes, his face serious but filled with concern. Mira nodded weakly, though every movement hurt. "You've made it. You're safe," Rhodes said, his voice calm. "We're going to get you back to Earth, but first, we need to know what happened. Who did this to you? What were they after?" Mara's mind raced, but the words seemed distant. She was exhausted, but she pushed through, trying to gather her thoughts. She knew Earth needed this information. They needed to know who was behind the attack on their convoy. "They're here, sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The ones who attacked. They are hiding in the Zeleri system." "I." She paused, her breathing labored. I was captured, but I escaped. They want something, but I don't know what." Rhodes leaned in, listening carefully. "Captured? What were they after?" Mira took a deep breath. "They want Earth. They know we're not weak. They want to test us. They want to break us." Rhodes's eyes narrowed, his expression hardening. "That's not going to happen." Mira's hand weakly reached out and grabbed his arm. "Admiral, you don't understand. This isn't just about one attack. This is the beginning of something bigger. If they come for Earth, it won't just be one ship. They'll come with everything they have. And when they do, we need to be ready." Rhodes paused, his mind racing as the weight of her words sank in. He had known Earth's enemies were out there, but this was something entirely different. The attack on the convoy wasn't a mistake. It was the first move in a dangerous game. "We'll be ready," Rhodes said firmly, standing up. "Get some rest, Captain. You've earned it." But Mira wasn't done. She had seen too much. She knew Earth wasn't ready. Not yet. The message Earth had sent wasn't just for their enemies. It was for their allies too. Earth needed to prepare for a fight like they had never faced before. As Rhodes left the room, Mira's eyes closed, but her thoughts remained sharp. The recovery ship was moving toward Earth, but it was only a matter of time before the rest of the galaxy realized what Earth had done, what they were capable of. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the leaders of the Galactic Council were making their own preparations. The news of Earth's retaliatory actions had spread quickly, and some began to panic. The ambassadors from the Xarn Syndicate, the Zelari, and other factions gathered in secret, discussing the next move. "We underestimated them," Lord Vesk of the Xarn Syndicate muttered, his voice cold. "Now they know how to strike back. If Earth has the strength to retaliate this quickly, they could pose a threat to every one of us." "What are we going to do about it?" asked Ambassador Sarah, her face grave. "We can't just let them build their strength. If we don't stop them now, we risk facing an unstoppable force." The room fell silent. The leaders knew that this wasn't just a typical conflict. Earth wasn't a small, weak planet anymore. They were a rising power, one that would soon be impossible to ignore. "We must act," Call of the Horth Confederation said, his voice low but firm. "We've made enemies of Earth, and now we must prepare for war." Back in the Earth fleet, Admiral Rhodes gathered his officers around the central table of the command room. The time had come for action. "We've heard the message from their ambassadors," Rhodes began. "They're afraid. They know Earth can strike back, and now they'll try to tear us down before we grow too powerful." One of the officers, Lieutenant Carter, spoke up. "We can't take them on all at once. Not yet. Our fleet is strong, but we need more time." "We don't have time," Rhodes replied. "They'll be coming for us soon. We need to be ready, and we need to send a message. Earth won't back down. We won't be pushed around." He looked around at his officers, their faces filled with determination. This wasn't just about defending Earth. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. "Prepare the fleet," Rhodes ordered. "We're going to take the fight to them." As Earth's ships began to mobilize, the leaders of the Galactic Council were already discussing their next move. Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. It was a force to be reckoned with. But the Council wasn't the only one paying attention. The pirate clans, smugglers, and mercenaries who had watched from the sidelines were now sharpening their blades, ready to capitalize on the chaos. War was coming, and everyone in the galaxy knew it. The first shots had been fired, and there was no turning back. The fleet of Earth ships was fully assembled, their engines powered up and ready for the coming storm. Admiral Rhodes stood at the center of the command room, the tension in the air so thick that it felt like you could cut it with a knife. He glanced at the large display screen, where the fleet's course was clearly mapped out. They were heading straight for the Zalari system, the heart of the enemy's plans. "We've got one chance," Rhodes muttered to himself, gripping the armrests of his chair tightly. "If we fail, Earth could be destroyed before we ever get another chance to fight back." "We're ready, Admiral," said Lieutenant Carter, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "All ships are prepped, and we've analyzed the enemy's last known positions. We know where they're hiding." Rhodes nodded, his eyes scanning the faces of his officers. They were all nervous, but there was no time for fear. The galaxy was watching. This was Earth's moment to show that they would not be intimidated. "Prepare for jump," Rhodes ordered. The silence in the room grew as the countdown began. In a few moments, Earth's fleet would enter the Zalari system, ready for battle. At the edge of the Zalari system, Ambassador Sarah stood in front of a holographic map, her eyes narrowing as she watched Earth's ships emerge from warp space. She had known this day would come, but seeing it happen was a different matter entirely. Earth's ships were powerful, and they were not here for negotiations. "We're outnumbered," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They've come to destroy us," one of her advisors said with panic in his voice. "There's no way we can fight back." But Sarah wasn't ready to give up. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "We will show them that we are not so easily defeated." The Zalari ships, though fewer in number, were equipped with advanced weaponry and shields, designed for defense rather than offense. They had always relied on stealth and deception to stay hidden, but now they had no choice but to fight. Sarah's hands gripped the console in front of her, her heart pounding. She wasn't ready to die today. She wasn't ready to lose everything her people had built. "Ready the weapons," she ordered. "We won't give up without a fight." Back aboard Earth's fly ship, Admiral Rhodes stood, staring intently at the monitor in front of him. The enemy ships had taken up position, and the space around them seemed to glow with an ominous light. "It's time," Rhodes said, his voice calm but firm. "Let's show them what Earth is made of." The first volley of missiles erupted from Earth's ships, their engines blazing as they sped through space, targeting the Zalari vessels. The enemy fired back, and the sky lit up with explosions. The battle had begun. As the missiles collided, Earth's ships deployed their own shields, absorbing the shockwaves. But the Zalari were well prepared. They retaliated with plasma beams and energy blasts, their ships moving quickly to avoid Earth's counterattacks. "This is it," Rhodes said to his crew. "Stay focused. We need to break through their defenses." The sound of weapons fire filled the room as the battle raged on. Earth's ships fired relentlessly, their weapons lighting up the space around them like a storm of energy. The Zalari ships were fast and nimble, darting in and out of the line of fire. But Earth's fleet was relentless. They were not giving up. A loud alarm blared in the command room, and one of the officers shouted, "Shields at 40%. We've taken a direct hit." "Damage report," Rhodes barked. "Front shields are holding, but we've lost power to one of the engines," came the response. "We're still in the fight, but we need to make it count." Rhodes's eyes hardened. "We won't let them escape." On the other side of the battlefield, Ambassador Sarah watched as her fleet took hits. The Zalari ships were holding up, but Earth's firepower was overwhelming. There was no denying the strength of Earth's military. "Move the fleet closer," she commanded. "We need to get in range for our final attack." The Zalari ships surged forward, their engines glowing as they engaged Earth's ships in close combat. But it wasn't enough. Earth's ships had more firepower, better shields, and most importantly, the courage to face their enemies head-on. "Target their flyship," Sarah ordered. "We can't let them lead this fight." But it was too late. One of Earth's ships, a massive dreadnought, locked its weapons onto the Zalari flyship, sending a wave of destruction through the enemy vessel. The ship shuddered as its shields failed, and the outer hull cracked open. "No," Sarah shouted in disbelief. Her advisors scrambled, trying to regain control of the situation, but the damage was too severe. The Zalari flagship was doomed. Back on Earth's flagship, Admiral Rhodes watched as the Zalari fleet began to break apart. One ship after another was destroyed, but the Earth fleet didn't slow down. They were too focused, too determined. "Admiral," Lieutenant Carter said, his voice urgent. "The Zalari flagship is going down. We've won." Rhodes didn't smile. He knew this battle was only the beginning. The rest of the galaxy was watching, and there would be more enemies waiting. But for now, they had struck a powerful blow. "Send the signal," Rhodes ordered. "We want the galaxy to know that Earth is not afraid. We fight for our survival, and we will not be stopped." The Zalari fleet, broken and defeated, scattered into the depths of space. Some ships fled to nearby systems, while others were destroyed in the chaos. Ambassador Sarah stood on the bridge of her remaining ship, her heart heavy with the loss of so many. "We've lost," she whispered. "Earth has shown us their strength." But even as she said the words, a new fear crept into her heart. Earth had just won a battle, but it would not stop there. The galaxy was vast, and if they wanted to survive, they would have to be ready for whatever came next. As the last of the Zalari fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, Earth's ships began to regroup. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Earth's fleet had struck a mighty blow to the Zalari, and the ripples of that victory spread quickly across the galaxy. Word of Earth's resilience and power echoed through the stars, carried by the whispers of those who had witnessed the fight. Earth was no longer a small, weak planet. Earth was a force. Admiral Rhodes stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring out at the vast emptiness of space. His fleet had won, but there was no joy in the victory. The real challenge was yet to come. This was only the first skirmish. The galaxy was still a dangerous place. "Report," Rhodes commanded, his voice calm but filled with a quiet intensity. Lieutenant Carter turned from his console, his face tense. "The Zalari are retreating, sir. Most of their fleet has fled to nearby systems. We've caused significant damage, but they'll be back. We need to prepare for what comes next." Rhodes nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the view of the stars. The galaxy was filled with enemies who had watched the battle unfold. Some would be impressed, others terrified, and a few would see Earth's strength as a threat to their own power. And threats, Rhodes knew, never stayed silent for long. "We have no choice," Rhodes muttered. "We need to fortify our position and prepare for more." Across the galaxy, in the shadow of the Galactic Council, leaders gathered in secret. The news of Earth's victory had shaken them to their core. For centuries, they had dominated the galaxy, but Earth had just proven that it would not be another victim of their power plays. It had proven that humanity would fight back, and that was a danger none of them could ignore. "We underestimated them," Lord Vesk of the Xarn Syndicate said, his voice thick with anger. "They've taken down the Zalari fleet. We cannot allow them to become stronger." "We've heard enough of their threats," Ambassador Sarah of the Zalari spoke, her voice cold and filled with bitterness. "They are a threat to all of us. We must unite before they grow too powerful." A murmur of agreement filled the room as the leaders of the galaxy's greatest factions discussed the growing problem. They knew the only way to take down Earth would be to work together, to set aside their differences, and to crush humanity before they could rise any further. "This will not be easy," Call of the Horth Confederation said. "But we will have no choice. If we let Earth gain more ground, they could dominate the galaxy in less than a century. We will need every fleet at our disposal," Lord Vesk added. "We cannot waste time." The leaders began to formulate their plans in hushed voices, as Earth's victory loomed larger in their minds. They were already preparing for the war that was certain to come. On Earth, Admiral Rhodes was already making his own preparations. The victory had been costly, and the fleet was battered. But it wasn't just the damage to the ships that worried him. It was the larger threat that loomed on the horizon. The galaxy was full of enemies, and now they knew what Earth was capable of. "We need to fortify our defenses," Rhodes said to his officers as he stood before the command room's large display screen. "We need to send a message to the galaxy that we will not back down." The officers nodded. understanding the gravity of the situation. Earth had won this battle, but the war would be harder. There were forces in the galaxy that would stop at nothing to see humanity crushed. "Prepare the fleet," Rhodes ordered. "We'll defend Earth with everything we have. We will strike before they strike us." Months passed, and the preparations on both sides continued. Earth's fleet grew stronger, reinforced with new technologies and weapons. Earth's allies, while still few, began to rally behind them. The humans had proven themselves to be fighters, and they would not be left alone in this fight. Meanwhile, the galactic factions, once scattered and divided, began to unite. The Xarn Syndicate, the Zelari, the Horth Confederation, and even smaller, more dangerous groups like the Karak Pirates all joined forces. Their goal was clear: destroy Earth before it could become too powerful. The stage was set for an all-out war. Admiral Rhodes stood once more at the head of his fleet, his mind focused. Earth was ready. His fleet was ready. But even with all the strength they had, Rhodes knew this wouldn't be an easy fight. The galaxy was vast, and their enemies were many. "Status report," Rhodes asked, his voice strong. "Fleet is in position, Admiral," Lieutenant Carter responded. "Our ships are fully stocked, and the defensive systems are up to full strength. We're ready for whatever comes next." Rhodes took a deep breath. "Then we wait. They'll come. We'll be ready." As his eyes locked onto the horizon of space, Rhodes felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. This was about survival. The galaxy would either learn to respect humanity, or they would face the full might of Earth's fury. Across the galaxy, the first ships of the united enemy fleet began to move. The massive armada was a sight to behold, each ship more powerful than the last, designed for total destruction. The galaxy's factions had joined forces, and they had one goal: to crush Earth's rising power before it could take root. The countdown had begun. And in the distance, Earth's fleet stood ready. The war had only just begun.